Welcome to the Wasted Time podcast. I am your host, Kevin, and once again, I'm here with the voice of a generation, someone that's going to be very important. This is Shauna.
Well, probably not, but
Shauna, hey.
hello, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good. It's a crazy time we live in right now, and I think this episode is going to be a little bit different.
It needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's good because there's a lot going on right now in the world, and I feel like I feel like I want to talk about this.
Yeah, I feel as though I don't have the words, and I know I don't have the right words. I think that's kind of the first step is admitting that you know what the fuck to say.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to try, and I want to figure out what it is I'm supposed to do. Like, I mean, it's all just about being better and trying to be the best person for your friends. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know that stuff's really, really hard right now, and it's not new stuff. It's not like I never knew this stuff was happening, but it's just become so every week that it's, I mean, and you can't ignore it anymore, and I don't want to ignore it anymore either.
Yeah, it's something so those that don't know, I am an African American man. Um, I have had racial encounters with the police before. Nothing obviously too fatal, which is fantastic, but it is something that I am.
That sucks. That's how we're measuring it, but
Yeah, but it's something that I'm definitely conscious of every time I do get pulled over. One thing I do want to say is happy birthday to Breonna Taylor. Today was the day on recording. Today is her birthday, or would have been her birthday had she not been killed by the police in her home. So it's the times that we're in, sadly, but it was something I definitely wanted to make sure I said out loud. So happy birthday to her. Um, this has just been has been this week of recording has been crazy.
It's like the tipping point, you know. I mean, I don't know. It's like it's tough because it's like it seems like isolated incidents, but I know it's not. But that's how it shows up every so often, and there's so many problems in the world that you kind of get numb to it, and that's not cool. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that person. It's just I grew up in such a small white town, the whitest town in Ben and Jerry's is basically like started there. So you know how fucking white it was. And I just feel like I didn't really understand the subtle racism more. I mean, I understand it now. I live in the South and I'll just be talking to people and they start casually saying subtle racist shit. And you're like, wait, what the fuck are you doing? I can't even believe you're saying that. And my problem is that I don't say anything back because I'm so afraid of confrontation, and that's where I'm learning that that's my problem, that I need to stop being afraid of confrontation. I have to start saying shit back, even if it makes me, I think,
not feel great about it.
Well, I don't not
comfortable.
Yeah, well, the thing is I think the word political is used against people a lot. Like my cousin married a black guy, and she has now, you know, half black, half white kids. And she's been posting nonstop. Like, this is an issue in my life. This is something I care about. And she's been called too political, which is wild. And that's
insane.
I mean, what are they really asking for? To be safe? Is that really political? That's fucked. And
that doesn't sound too much to ask for, right?
No, it doesn't. And I think that word's thrown out all the time to kind of make people feel bad. Like, you're being too political. Like, let's just make it easy and casual. But, like, what group says that? People who don't have to really worry about the, quote, political, unquote, shit. Like,
for someone like me, for a lot of times, it's not about being political. It's just being alive. Yeah. It's just trying to be alive. One time I got pulled over. I'm from Southern California, and one time I got pulled over, and the cop I was leaving my mother's house. I was going back to my apartment. Cop pulls me over, and after he asked for my license and registration, first thing he asked me is he asked me when was the last time I was in jail. I was extremely taken aback because I had never been to jail, and I was I could not fathom why that would be the question. He had no reason to pull me over. I
Right.
was making a right turn onto a major street. I stopped at the light, slowed down like you do to make sure you don't die,
Mm-hmm.
and run to the thing. And that's so he asked me that. I tell him never, and I'm shocked and appalled. And he said, "Well, we'll
Do
see."
you think he even thought about, I feel like if people say that shit, they don't even like think about why they asked that. I think they would be like, "Oh, just I ask everybody that," but like they
Yeah,
probably don't,
no,
and it's so embedded in shit that they don't even think about it.
it's crazy because when my answer was never, definitely not, his response was, "Well, we'll see." Then he
Ugh,
went to
gross.
his his computer or whatever in his car, ran my stuff. I was still just in shock that this was my interaction with him. And I'm like maybe 19, 20 at the time, maybe 21, because I was living on my own. And he comes back and tells me that I could have a good day. That was it.
He
He was
didn't even
done.
apologize. He
He
wasn't
didn't
like, "Hey,
know.
sorry, I was a total dick back
No.
there."
He ran my stuff, and then
No.
I said, "Okay, thanks, officer." And then he left because I'm not trying to die, so I'm not trying to get lippy with him.
Yeah. I mean,
But this
sorry. Keep
insane,
going.
and it was just insane that I that was the interaction that I had.
I'll never have that same interaction. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not trying to be like,
Oh
I
no.
totally get it. But I mean, I've had cops be rude to me, I think because I'm a girl and they think I'm dumb. I got pulled over and he was, because I guess I blew a stop sign like very slowly. I was going like 10 miles per hour and I was
Mm-hmm.
following my then boyfriend, now husband, on a military base. And he pulled me over and he said, "Oh, what's that that 8-sided red thing in the side of the road?" And I was like, "Are you you think I'm so stupid that I don't know what a stop sign is?" It was so rude. And then he went and he talked to Jameson and all came back and he was super cool to me. Like he needed like the
I
male's
talked to your male
approval.
handler,
Yeah.
and he said it was okay.
And of course, that's not the same thing. I'm not saying
Oh
that.
no,
I
no, no.
understand that I wasn't in any life danger, but I understand the disrespect of people. It comes from somewhere, and they have these weird unspoken rules about who you are before they even talk to you.
It's interesting because I feel like it's obviously not just law enforcement. This is a people problem,
Yes.
but um, I don't know why it feels like for us, though, possibly because of the authority, but I feel like that being a police officer means you have to be a dick sometimes, which is
I mean,
kind of crazy. I
you
feel
like
like you
think
should,
about it. Maybe they think they're always in danger, but like, why do they feel more in danger around black people? Is like the real root of that
yeah,
problem. I think it's
yeah,
not like I understand why you might feel like people are dangerous, but why do you think black people are dangerous?
right. Well, I'm a regular, mild, well-spoken man, just chilling, trying to have a good
Even
day.
if you weren't, there's people with mental health issues. Like you don't know who the fuck you're talking to.
Hmm.
Like someone who's not well spoken shouldn't be considered dangerous. I mean, I don't know. I'm afraid of people. I'm admittedly afraid of just men, not any type of men, just men. Like
In general,
when I run, I'm scared that men are gonna come pull over because I have, and I'm afraid I'm gonna be fucking kidnapped. But
hmm,
I mean, I think I don't know where I'm going with it, but I'm just saying uh, this is
people
just
are dangerous. People are
yeah. Not
scary,
not one particular group of people are
but not, yeah,
dangerous.
just people in general.
Yeah,
And
I don't even want to think like that. Like I feel like even that's learned behavior. I don't want to be afraid of people. Just am. But I think that everyone needs to think about like where the fuck these like prejudices really come from because they come from somewhere and I think they come from messages we've gotten forever and never thought to look at.
one time, I had a conversation, rather, I want to say, in the last couple years, with a friend's husband who's a police officer. Um, I had a conversation with him, and I said to him, it was just point blankly, "Why do you guys stop us more often than others?" And then he said, "It's not. It just seems that way, but it's not that way."
I've been
And
told that
then
too.
I
I
told
have.
him, I told him, it's I told him about another thing that happened to me here in Las Vegas, where I was driving in the center lane. Then I moved to the right lane.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did not signal. I just moved to the right lane, but there was no other cars around me. The officer, I guess, turned the corner, and at the light that I went through, it was a green light. Went through the light, and then they got behind me. So then I moved back. I signaled and moved to the center lane, and then they followed me to the center lane. So then I signaled back, went back to the right lane because obviously they were following me.
Yeah.
And so I moved back to the right lane, and then they pulled me over. They, the officer and his partner get out the car. I'm wearing my work shirt. The officer and the his partner get out the car. They come up on either side of my car. They're shining their light in my car. It's probably dusk, so it's like 6:37 because I was just got off work. And he tells me, "Oh, you didn't signal back there, so that's why we're stopping you." And I said, "Oh, no, no, not a problem, officer. I understand. I probably should have signaled. How far ago though? What was it?" He was like, about 5 or 6 lights ago. And I was like,
So why
wait,
did you
what?
wait so long to
Yeah,
pull
I
him
was
over?
like, wait, what?
If it was
When
such a
did
big
you?
issue.
Yeah, what? And then he's like, yeah. So he runs my stuff, and then he comes back and he tells me, um, all right, and this is your vehicle, and I say, yeah. I said, all right, okay, cool. You have a good day. We're just gonna give you a warning. Make sure you signal. I saw you signaled when you changed lanes to the center and then back to the right. So obviously your signal works. So go ahead, just have a good day. And then when I
Okay.
was relaying the story to my friend's husband, he was like, "Well, what kind of car do you drive?" And I told him I drive a uh, Hyundai, and he's like, sometimes those cars get stolen, and so we're just trying to check. And I was like, that sounds like a crock of
Mm.
shit. That sounds like a crock
Those
of shit.
specific cars, like people are like, "Oh, I'm jonesing for a Hyundai."
Hyundai
I love
Sonata.
them. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly. And he's like,
yeah,
well,
in
that could
Vegas
be
with
it.
all those other very nice cars. I'm
Right.
there. I want a Hyundai, not a Lexus.
He was just trying to make an excuse for his fellow officers. And I think that's actually one of the most interesting things that's happening as of late is that this
Yeah.
brotherhood seems to have become broken amongst the police force because there's more and more that are standing in this time with those that are protesting and
Yeah, I don't.
reporting bad behavior since last week or since the last week with uh, Mr. George Taylor. So that is one thing. George Floyd. I mean, that's one thing that is a plus. I think.
What? Wait, I'm not following. The plus is
So
what?
the protests and the standing up and the speaking out after watching the horrific death of George Floyd is making other officers
Stand up to
to
the.
each other.
Okay, yeah, that's what needs to happen for sure. Because I mean, I know a lot of people are anti-police entirely, and
I'm not.
I honestly I can't speak on that subject. I was given a defund the police petition. I'm not going to sign it because I don't know what I'm signing.
Right.
I'm going to research things. Even people with the best of intentions, the people who are on the Black Lives Matter side, or they're susceptible to fake infographics for fake news and stuff like that. And that
Right.
sucks, but they need to really research before they sign petitions. I mean,
Hmm.
if it's justice for someone who's been wrongfully killed, I'm signing that without question. But
Right.
I'm not gonna make a huge sign like that.
I mean, the,
I
the
don't know what to do. I'm a
defunding the
person.
police is a very authority is
Uh,
needed
I
to
don't know
keep
what to
order.
do. Yeah, I mean, like people have like alternatives that they've shared on social media, but I'm like, but
Hmm.
where are these coming from? Where's the
Right.
promise that that's going to happen? I don't know. I'm not a person who should be making these decisions. That's why we trust other people higher up to make these decisions, but they're not fucking doing it for us, and so it's become a burden for us to figure out how we're supposed to run this country when they're not doing it. Like I
Right.
feel like there's no such thing as trusting anymore. I thought there was when you grow up and you are taught, or at least I was taught, that like, oh, the police are helpful and like the government cares and all this stuff, and like as you grow older you're like, maybe not, maybe they don't. And especially not now.
And what's crazy is that as a whole, I think the police force it's meant to be helpful.
But yeah, I mean, I haven't had all negative, but of course I'm one person. My experience does not rule every experience out there. So I don't it's just tough. It's just you see a lot of people who share their anecdotal experiences. Mostly a lot of white people who are like, okay, all lives matter. I was like, no shit. Like that's the fucking point. But they say like, well, I've had only positive police interactions, and it's like, okay, but you're
That's
not in the demographic
yeah.
speaking about the wrongdoings. Why do you think that your one experience getting pulled over in a minivan like speaks for an entire different race of people?
Right,
I
right.
mean, I've had good interactions with police, but I don't I don't think that I have the authority to say anything about really anything that's happening.
The thing that's crazy for me is that I've had positive interactions with police. I've obviously had negative ones. The one interaction I just don't want to have is my last.
Yeah, I don't
And
want that either.
that's
Of course I don't want that. No
and
one
that's
that
right. And that's all I think about though whenever I
I
get pulled
know. And
over
I'm
or I interact with
sorry.
them. It's all right. It's not your fault.
No,
It's just
I
that
know, but
something.
everyone who cares about you like cares a lot. And we don't
Mhm.
I mean, especially like I texted you the other day and I was like, I know this is fucking stupid. I don't know what to say. I'm thinking about you a lot. And I know like I know you're one of those people that it's like if you say anything that's great, but I don't want to contribute to just some bullshit like apologizing and then doing nothing. Like we want to change it. I think a lot of people feel that way.
Mhm.
Um, it's definitely something that weighs heavy on people who care about black people. I mean, like I have a lot of black family and friends, and I care, and I just kind of feel helpless.
Right. Uh, just as long as you what I say is as long as you don't feel hopeless that there's not anything that can eventually change. It's going to take time.
Yeah,
There's no sweeping changes that could happen, but with the death of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, the ones recently, it seems to have sparked a movement that hopefully doesn't peter out and
no.
continues to burn brighter because people are definitely feeling something right now, and I hope it can lead to change. It's just the thing that's crazy to me is that the amount of times that things have happened, like to those names I just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
also to like Freddie Gray, Philandra Castile, Sandra Bland, these other people
Yeah,
that have died in the hands of police officers or people with authority, like Trayvon Martin. Trayvon
yeah.
Martin was a kid.
I remember that one a lot because I remember someone going as Trayvon Martin for Halloween in my white hometown back in the day.
That
And
is it's troubling.
I mean, we were like, "Oh, all right, see ya." Like, but I should have said, "I'm so sorry that I mean, I'm learning. I'm definitely
Yeah.
learning, and I'm definitely not like I wouldn't say I've ever like spewed racial hate, but I've been ignorant for sure." And I think a lot of white people have this really knee jerk reaction, like, "I'm not racist. I'm not the problem." And it's like you're probably not racist, but you probably are ignorant in ways you have never understood, never
Hmm.
looked at. And I think what this is really begging us to do is look at it, even though it
Hmm.
sucks. And even though I mean, I feel ashamed about some stuff. I grew up in that like Tosh.0 era, where everyone like it was like, oh, make fun of everything. It's funny to be like shocking. And so you'd say stuff that you're like, this is so mean, but it's funny because it's mean. And I now know, no, it's not really fucking funny. Like, grow up and don't be like that anymore. And I think a lot of people need to really own up to their shit if they want to be better, especially if they want to be better allies.
One thing that I think we're going to really need is I'm gonna need a conviction for George Floyd's killer. I'm gonna need a conviction. That's the thing that's going to be what puts it over is because too often these people go to court and then they don't go to jail, which makes me feel unseen and
Right.
uncared about because we're prosecuting, but these killers are getting off.
What is also crazy is the way that certain news organizations will kind of implant these other ideas into the public's minds.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty common tactic. They'll say like, "Oh, he had COVID." And then people who don't read the full news story, which it said, but he didn't die from it, or he had like a heart attack, they won't read that it wasn't how he died. They'll just
Right.
take that headline and say, "See, this is
He
like
doesn't.
why
The
it's
cop
not a."
wasn't. Yeah.
And so, and they're like, I mean, right now, there's like, I just typed in to Google George Floyd and it became like a violent criminal. He has a history. It's like, who fucking cares? Like, that doesn't
I watched in a
matter.
10-minute video an officer put his knee on his neck and
Right.
kill him.
What was he doing in the moment? Like, okay, people,
Yeah.
in a lot of the times, and like, I know I joke about being like, I joke about a lot of stuff, like, that I hope that people realize is sarcasm or satirical or whatever. But I joke about like, you know, people riding on bikes are like poor. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm serious. I understand that like being poor drives you to things that people who are not poor do not understand whatsoever. So if you're violent, if you're a criminal, like oftentimes it's because you were either hurt yourself or you were driven to it because you didn't have the means to provide for yourself. Like there are reasons for these behaviors that we're demonizing. They're not just fucking out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's frustrating.
It is frustrating and it's sad, but I'm glad that right now there seems to be a voice. So everyone that is with the Black Lives Matter movement, I thank you. Everyone that understands that I just want to stay alive, I
And
thank
we
you.
want that too, obviously, of
Everyone that wants me to
course.
be alive, I thank you.
It's so
People
crazy
like
that's
us,
even how it's phrased, but that's like the sick part is like, yeah, of course we want you to be alive.
yeah.
Kevin is one of the most well loved people I've ever fucking met in my entire life. As I mentioned, like every week, you're a fan favorite of just everybody. And so, yeah.
Thank you. It's a scary time, but I think people like you, Shauna, who's a friend of mine and friend to black people, to people, friend of people,
I'm a
because
friend of
it's
few people, but I usually hate most people based on their personality.
not having to do with their race
Yeah,
or
I'm just
anything
like
like
hate
that.
you because you're bullshit. But
Yeah.
if you're black or white or whatever, that's fine.
So, I want to wrap this up. Shauna, what are you drink? What are you drinking today?
I'm drinking Goose Island.
Okay, I want you to raise your Goose Island glass. I'm drinking
Dude,
California Garage Brewing Company's Apple Pie Pale Ale. That's what I'm drinking
nice.
today. I want to do a
Virtually
toast,
cheers.
a virtual cheers and a virtual toast to George Floyd, to Breonna Taylor, to Ahmaud Arbery, Philandro Castile, Sandra Bland, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Sean Bell, Trayvon Martin, Freddie Gray, Tamir Rice. People,
To
there's so many
anybody
names.
who's
There's so
been
many names that have been hurt by this or killed, that have been killed by this. I want to do a toast to them and I want to do a drink to them. They didn't deserve it, and hopefully we can finally get the justice that we need.
well said.
Um, Next week we'll be back with another funny episode. But Shauna, thank you for joining me for this one.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for dealing with my not knowing what to say.
No
But
problem. But thank you, and hopefully we are able to get through the other side of this and just get to better times. All right, with that, goodbye.
bye.